This Dvar Torah is in memory of the 26th yortzeit of my father Yehuda ben Moshe ve'Esther Baruch Hashem Tzanachenu B'Gan Eden. This parsha of Balak is a most fascinating parsha. Lahavdil, it reads like a horror film. Curses, precipitous mountains, a one-eyed bestial wizard, even a talking donkey. Something for all the family. Bilam was a highly dangerous individual. In modern terms, one might call him a hostile. But what made him so terrifying? Chazal tell us that whatever he did, he covered up his actions. He was never taken to task because nobody knew what he did or who he really was. He did evil and he covered his tracks. Now there's no defense for somebody like that. You'd look at him and be excused for thinking he was a virtuous man, a tzaddik even. In fact, as one of my rebbeim once pointed out, if you look through the entire parasha of Balak, you'll notice that the whole story of this wily cursing maniac happened without the knowledge of the Jewish people. They were blissfully unaware of the entire plot. Oh yes, Bilam was very good at what he did. The whole cloak and dagger affair was engineered by him. Now the Chofetz Chaim tells us a fascinating insight. Throughout the parasha of Balak, there are no paragraphs. Do you know how hard it is to read a cell phone number with no spaces? Imagine reading a whole paragraph with no spaces. That's not easy. So what's implied by a sedra with no paragraphs? Bilam was a person who never stopped to think. He had God staring him in the face, kivyachol, as it were. What was his reaction? He did precisely nothing. Throughout his life, he went from thing to thing to thing with a few things in between, and he never stopped, never paused, never thought out exactly what this thing called life was that he was trudging through. Talk about coffee. He was so busy with his stuff, he never knew what coffee smelled like. Have you ever come across people who say, if Hashem revealed himself to me, I would become observant? Bilam refutes this theory. His level of prophecy was unparalleled among the nations. Nobody could hold a candle to him. And yet, he was one of the most sinful people that ever walked the face of the earth. He would have made the generation of the flood blush, and yet he just would not learn. Now, if we go back to Egypt, Bilam was the one who, despite being warned about the plague of hail, he was the one who never brought his cattle indoors. Remember, this plague of hail was the 7th plague. The other 6 previous ones had worked out exactly as Moshe had said. Now, I would say 6 out of 6 is a pretty impressive pass rate. So what happened as a result of Bilam's protest? You know what happened? His cattle were decimated by the hail. I would call that dafka. That's a dafka type of person. He never even gave a second thought when his donkey started speaking. I mean, a talking donkey? Do me a favour? How could you take something like that on the chin? And it goes in one ear and out the other, regardless. He had taken his arrogance to a whole new level. He didn't even notice open miracles. At this point in the narrative of the Torah, what I would hear from this, what my Cockney side would tell me, is that this geezer has really lost the plot. What on earth was up with this guy? The hint is in his description. The Torah calls Bilam the man with the open eye, implying that his other eye was closed, and he was in fact blind in one eye. Now, does this all sound far-fetched? I mean, that was Bilam, but we could never be like that. We're always smelling the coffee. We're always smelling of roses. We always think about what to do. We never leave things to chance. Don't we? My friends, in my humble opinion, the greatest Yetzer Hara in our time is apathy. It's fed to us through our mobile phones, our iPads, our iPods, all the other machinations that Bilam throws at us. Do nothing. Take a trip through life with no stops, no pauses. Have fun while you're young and middle-aged. And why bother stopping when you're old either? Maybe this is why Bilam only had one eye. One eye means tunnel vision. No room to look back at the mess we've made. Just keep on rocking and rolling. But ironically, there is something positive we can learn from this subhuman lowlife called Bilam. He was willing to be mavaza himself to do an aveira. He woke up early in the morning and did the job of his servants by saddling his own donkey. That's a low-life job as far as he's concerned. He would never do such a thing normally. Oh, but to curse Israel, that he would do. He was so caught up in his lust, he didn't think and he just didn't care. How much more so must we be mavaza ourselves to do a mitzvah? Now that's something to stop and think about.